Hello, it's me Joshua. Welcome to another video of my Python programming series. We've started this series about 2 videos ago and you've not missed so much, but if you would like to catch up, I'll leave the link of the previous videos in the description or some parts of this video so you can go and check it out. In today's video, I'm going to talk about some essential parts of Python programming. Basically, the basic and the essential parts that allows you to be able to do um, the more advanced and more difficult things. But before that, I just want to say that if you ever like this video, if you think this video is good enough for you or it has helped you in any way, please, I would like you to hit the like button, or you can share it with anyone that you think this video will be useful for. This will go a long way in helping this channel and helping to get the word out there and helping to share the content with as many people as possible. We really appreciate that. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about the Python programming essentials, which are basically printing, comments, strings, variables, arithmetic options, booleans, and we're also going to talk about iterables or sequences, as some people call it. So these are the essential parts. There's like the building blocks in Python programming that you actually need along the way. So let's get right into it. Uh, we're going to do this by using the Python uh, interactive environment. So you would see here I have the editor environment here, and this is the program that we ran the last time, and this is the terminal in Windows. Is a terminal, and in order to access the Python interactive environment, we can just type Python here. And so you have this three greater than symbols or that is used to denotes the Python interactive environment. So why am I using this interactive environment? It turns out that this is a very good feature in Python programming. The reason is that it helps you to be able to try out a lot of things without having to write them in your code, um, to having to write them in your code. That is, if you maybe forget one particular function, you can actually check here if this function exists, and then you can add it into your code without having to run your code all the time when you are trying out new things. So because we are trying out a lot of new concepts and a lot of new things in this tutorial, I'm going to be typing mostly here and showing you how Python works, how the syntax is, and how these elements are built together and how they work together. So the first thing we're going to talk about is printing. Printing is basically an essential part of Python. That is, if you get an input, you want to print out an output, you want to print out the content of a variable, you want to print out a message to the user. There are so many ways you can do this, and we already talked about this actually in the hello world, where we use the print statement in order to print out a particular message. So basically you just write print and put the message in the quotes, in the double quotes. So hello world, and so you can see in this interactive environment, whenever you use a keyword or you use a function, the output of that function appears in the next line. So it helps you to see immediately what the output of the function is like. So if I say I copy this and I paste it here and I press enter, it gives me the output. This is exactly the expected output as if we run the language, we run the program. And so this printing function can be used in many different ways. We can use it to print a message and print the output of a variable. So suppose we have a variable I know we've not talked about this yet, but this is very simple concept. If we have a variable called name, we're defining a variable called name, and we say the value in this variable called name is Joshua. What do you mean? So because it's a variable, there is no output, right? It's just a variable. But if we want to print out the value in this variable, we can say print then name. You can see that variable. So the value of inside the variable is printed out into the terminal. We can also combine a message with the value of the variable. So we say print, say my name is. You can see I finished this double quote, then I put a comma, then I can now put name here. You can see it shows my name is, and it joins it with the output with the value in that variable. Suppose we also have a variable age which stores number. This is an hypothetical age. This is not my real age. So let's say 50 years old, right? And I want to print out a message that says print my age is, then I'll put age here, right? Oh yeah, I need to put the comma. You see, so this is probably your first instance of seeing the error. So these are some errors that you would find when running the Python program. You don't have to worry so much about what this error means right now because you're just starting. Just make sure that you put in that you do the things right, and whenever you see this kind of errors, sometimes it will be useful to see the output of the error kind of shows you where you have made a mistake. So for example, you can see here print my age is, and it shows this arrow under the age, so which means something is wrong with the syntax. It actually says a syntax error, so because we did not put a comma there, and that is it. So just to let you see how that there's really no difference between, there is a lot of difference, but there is no difference between the output that you get in the interactive environment and the program itself. So I'm going to bring this the things that we already did here. I'll say name is equal to Joshua and age equals to 50. We will talk about the contents of this, how these variables work later. Just take it for now that we can define a name and an age, and define them as, for example, in this case, a bunch of letters, and in the age of in the case of age, numbers. So I can print out a message that says my name is name, right? Then I can also say print my age is age. So if we run this, I'm just going to create a new, so in order to create a new terminal, I'll just type this, or click the plus button. So here we have two terminal environment. This is Python and this is command. This is just a way for VS Code of differentiating different terminals. So you can have as many as possible here. Actually, I don't know how much the limits that you can have. So let us run this program and say hello world. So you can see it prints the first line, it prints the second line, which is the output, and you can see like what we did the other time, name, because it's just a statement, it's just an assignment statement. In this case, we are assigning this bunch of letters to the variable name, and 50 here assigning it to age, and now we're now printing out the output. So it is necessary to point out here that how generally how programming works is that each line is executed one after the other. So you will never see the output where print hello world will come after my ages, assuming that it is written this way. There are some cases where you want some lines to be executed one before another one. Then there are some other things that you can do in that case. But at this stage, you can always expect that the output of your program will run one line after the other. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's go back to a interactive environment. And so printing is that easy. So suppose we can actually combine two variables together, and printing also allows us to do that. So I can say that my name is name, comma, you can see that, and add another bunch, and my age is age. You can see my name is Joshua Oyemi, and my age is 50. Understanding this is really important because it allows you to be able to print out the output of your program in very creative and different ways. These are just basics of printing, and you can do a lot of things with this. You can print a multi-line. So suppose I want to print a multi-line. In this case, I'm just going to introduce a little construct here. So whenever you see I'm not sure if this is forward slash or backslash now, forward slash, and I think it shows that a new line. So the new line symbol in most of the programs, in all programs that are like C related to the C language. As a matter of fact, Python is kind of related to the C language. The new line symbol is this, the forward slash n. And I wanted to see what happens here if I run this. So what happens is that Python interprets this that, okay, I want a new line at this point, and then it breaks those strings into two. So I just want to run this again in the as a program, and so that you can see that. Yeah, you can see. So basically this line and this line can be combined into just one line, and it gives us the same output essentially. So yeah, that's all for printing. I don't want to take too much time. You can try out as many things as possible by yourself, just by knowing this. The next I will talk about is, which I've already mentioned, is the strings. So basically I'm starting a new section, which is variables now. So the strings, now we're talking about the strings variable. As you can see here, when I put my cursor here, it shows str, which denotes the string variable in Python. So what is a string variable? A string variable is a variable that stores alphanumerics. You can just say a variable that stores a bunch of letters. It could also be numbers. However, how to designate this is when you use the double quote. So as in this case, the name age equals to 50 is different from string age. Let's call this string age, which is 50. As a matter of fact, let me type that here. And to find out, you would see that if we use a command called type. So in order to find out the type of a variable, we can use the command type, and using this bracket and say type age. You can see that it shows class int. I'm going to introduce this later. However, let's use type string age. It shows the class str, which is saying that this variable name is a string. And so a string is exactly what we have already said. A string is a bunch of alphanumerics, and you always designate by using the double quote here. So any designation or any declaration that involves using the double quotes on the other side is a string. And quickly, I'm just going to talk about manipulation in strings, because strings is a very kind of a big class on its own, and you actually maybe need a whole video to talk about strings alone, but it will be necessary to actually talk about this, which is strings manipulation. So which are actually the attributes of a string variable. So suppose I have a string called is a string variable called full name, right, which is my okay, in this case my name. So I don't need to declare a new variable for that. So name, right? It turns out that we can actually split this name into two by doing something like this. We can say that name, by using the square bracket, we can specify what part of this string name or name string that we want. So if I say 0 to 6 or 7, not sure. Yeah, 6. So what it does is that it only takes the first 6 letters in this of the first 6 characters in the variable name. And you can see that. And this idea is called slicing. So we are slicing the string variable into small parts. We can actually say that we can actually save this sliced version in a new variable name and say first name equals to name 0 to 6. And now if you say first name, it has Joshua in it. So we can also say last name. If we want to slice the last name, equals to name 7 to, I think this should be 13, right? And if I type last name, yeah. Oh, so it's kind of it splits up until the 13. So if we say 14, let's use 14 in this case. Yep, last name. Yeah, so now we have the whole last name. So I mean, how to do this, how to know which part, or even specifying the numbers, the which here is called the index, specifying the index of that character. It's another thing entirely, but I just wanted to introduce to you here that we can actually break down a string variable into smaller parts, and we can do something that maybe is not reasonable, but we can say that we can slice in as many ways as possible. I mean, the output might not make any sense, but at the same time it shows what you can actually do. So in another case, maybe you have another string and you needed to do something like this. This is totally useful. And as we can slice a string variable into 2 or more parts, we can also join a string variable into, I mean, multiple string variable into one. This is kind of really useful when you are printing out a multiple variable. So, you know, I have a first name and last name. What happens if I say first name plus last name? you can see, so it joins the first name and the last name together by using the plus, the addition. So this is also called a string addition. It's just pure adding the one part of a string, the first string with the second string. I can actually, suppose I want to put a space in between, I can actually do that with the same idea. So here I'm typing the space in between, and now we have a space in between. So you can this is another operation in strings which is very, very useful. So now we've talked about how to create a string variable, string slicing, and string addition. These are going to come in handy as we go on. So which other variables do we have? We have variables that help to store numbers, as in the case of age here. Here I have to say that age and the number in age and the number in, say, height are two different types of numbers. So say I am 1.85 meters, right, which is my height. So like we checked the other time, the variable of age is called an integer. So an integer is a variable that is just whole numbers, right? And the variable in height are floats. Floats are numbers with decimal points. In Python, this is not explicitly defined. In some other programs like C++ or Java, you have to define and say int age equals to 50, or in Python or in Java, you have to say int variable name equals to. But in Python, it's kind of implicit. The nature of the variable is by what you save into it. So if we do type to check what's the type of the variable, so you can see here class int, and if we do type height, and you can see class float. So these are number variables, and you can expect these number variables to behave as a normal number. So I can add two numbers together. Say I can add, this doesn't make sense, but we can say that age plus height, and it gives you exactly what you would expect, 50 plus 85. In this case, if we store this into a variable, then this variable is a float variable. And so this brings us to arithmetic operations. What are operations that we can do, arithmetic operations that we can do in Python? Of course, the first is maybe addition. This is very easy. 50 plus 89, and this gives you, you can also think that this you can add variables in this way. So let's say we have x and y. So x equals to 50, y equals to 5, and let's add one more, z equals to 3. So to add two variables, we can say x plus y, and it gives us 55. We can also say x minus y, which is the subtraction arithmetic operation, and we can say x times y, and we can say x divided by y. So you can see that when I do a division, the output is a float. If I need an integer output, this is what I do. I do x double division by y, and you see that I have a 10 here. So, and other operations are modulo or raised to power. So if I want to do raised to power x raised to power z in this case, so this is a power of the x to the power of z. Well, this is what you would expect. And if I want to get a negative number, I can say minus x, and this is minus 50. And one other is absolute. So um, absolute is more like you want to get the unsigned value of a number. So if I have a negative number, say minus 50 in this case, and I say absolute minus 50, it gives me output of 50. So these are arithmetic operations that you can have, and you can also expect that these arithmetic operations follows the normal math, the way of executing our arithmetic operations in math. So the output of 5 plus 2 times 5 is 15, because 2 times 5 we execute first before 5. However, you can group operations by using the parentheses. So 5 plus 2 times 5 gives you a different answer. So this is how the arithmetic operation in Python works. It's basically this way. And you can have also a Boolean. A Boolean is another class of variables that is simply, you can simply call it a bool that has only two values. So it has value of true or false. So you can see here the true itself it's a value. It's also a Boolean variable. False is a value and also a Boolean variable. This is very useful in comparing variables, or in comparison in any part of your program, and it's very important. So I can say, okay, now is x greater than y. X, if I say is x greater than y, although we've not talked about this yet, but the output of this should be true, right? So it gives us a true. So we can decide to store the output of this expression or this operation into a new variable, and we can say that maybe day or date equals to true. So in this case, a day is a Boolean variable. So if I say type day, which is a Boolean variable, and basically these are all the major things that you need for Python. Essentials. So we talked about basically we talked about the printing function, the variable types, which are the strings, the numbers, the integers, floats, and the Boolean in this case. Although I wanted to go to iterables in this video, but I think it's long enough, so I'm going to cut it here. Then I'm going to continue in the next video and talk about this special part of Python, which is iterables or sequences. These are also very important part that you need to know. So this would be the end of the video. If you actually like this video, I would really love for you to smash the like button and share it with other people who you think will surely need this knowledge. It would greatly help. And you can also follow me on my social media networks. My handle on Twitter is Toluwajosh. I'm gonna put that in the video also, and my handle also in Instagram is Toluwajosh. The same thing. And please give a comment if you have any comment in the video. It will greatly help to improve the content, and let me know what you want to learn about. Maybe if you're new to programming or Python, which areas are hard for you to grasp, and let me know, maybe there were some topics that you would need me to actually talk about. And until the next one, see you. Thank you.